Yeah, thank you very much indeed for joining Piers Morgan Uncensored. My first question for you, I guess, is an obvious one. What do you hope to achieve from our conversation?
That right there, being uncensored. In American media, it's very censored. It feels like an episode of Black Mirror a lot of times. So I've put myself across the line, the point of no return, saying, hey, I know they're going to say whatever they want about me. And when I bring up the truth, they're going to say, you didn't get enough sleep. It's because of your health. They're going to call me names for my truth. But these experiences that I'm telling you about are factually things that I've went through and things that I refuse to keep going through and things that I'm not going to let my children go through and things that I'm not going to let my peers go through. No pun intended.
Well, look, we are most certainly uncensored on this show, and I want to give you the time and the platform to really explain yourself, because I think that sometimes sound bites about people, perhaps taken out of context sometimes, can create a very distorted view of what a person really thinks. What do you think, looking back over the last few weeks in particular, what do you think have been the biggest misconceptions about you?
Well, I think there's a left agenda to silence anyone that goes against the agenda. Let's go back to Trump running for office back in 2015. Everyone that was around me in my industry, in the entertainment industry, told me that my life would be over. I would be on the wrong side of history. I've even had threats to my life for wearing the Trump hat. And it even ended up in, destroying my family and also making it where I have to raise my children differently because I actually am a person that's classified as Black. I classify myself as Jew, but a person that's classified that had been given that title in America as Black in America, that I'm supposed to stay in a block of a vote. You never heard the term white vote. So why is there a term Black vote? How is that okay? It sounds just as racist as a Black drinking fountain. And my dad, called me and said, the thing that the left fear about Ye or makes me the most dangerous is I'm rich. And that's the point. Tupac told me back in the days, you had to get your money right and then you go to war. So I'm going to war. I don't have endless resources. I only have maybe, honestly, only maybe $120 million in my account. But what I'm not going to let happen is I'm not going to let my kids take over Yeezy someday and have a boardroom telling them what to do and talking behind their back. I'm not going to let that happen to my children. So I have to fight right now. And the other powerful icons in Black music, when they were at the top of the game, they didn't fight at that point. They were too afraid of losing whatever they had. So by the time they wanted to make a difference, by the time Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC, he didn't have the Cosby Show at that time to be able to stand up when they wanted to literally throw him in jail, where they actually did throw him in jail. So people have to understand just the bravery. There's so many people everywhere. I know everyone can relate to being afraid to say what you're going to feel because you feel like you're going to lose something. So whether you agree with me or not, I believe people are going to feel the fact that someone is brave enough to say something. Every day I do 5 things that people have been historically killed for. Every day. And it's just, I want to prove, first of all, I am Jew also. The 12 lost tribes of Hebrew. Do the math. Do your research on it. We have got our culture ripped from us and then told we were just simply void of color, which is another definition for Black. But if we knew we were a culture and knew we were a people, the way the Jewish people know, then we wouldn't abort ourselves. We wouldn't shoot each other dead in the streets and then rap about it. We wouldn't brag about, having sex with each other's wives. We would keep our families together and we would do business together. The most dangerous place for a black person in America is actually in our mother's stomachs, because 50% of black deaths a year in America is abortion currently. I mean, I can keep going, but I want to make it, hey, boom, ask me questions, let's go.
I don't want to jump in too much, because here's what I honestly think. I think you have an extraordinary mind. You have a number of extraordinary talents. You're a musical genius. You're a fascinating public figure. What has been interesting to me is to watch the furore which has erupted in the last few weeks over a series of statements that you've made, which have caused, as you know, a lot of offence. And I guess before I get into them, I'm just curious as to whether you think there is a line for free speech. Listen, I completely agree with you that there is a war against free speech, that people are, treading on eggshells all the time, terrified of expressing honestly held opinions in case they get cancelled. I think we're living in a really insidious era where liberals are behaving like fascists. So on that, you have absolutely my agreement. But my question for you is, do you believe there are limits to free speech? And if they are, what are they?
There are no limits to free speech. It's all context, right? Tarantino can write a movie about slavery where actually him and Jamie, they got the idea from me, because the idea for Django, I pitched to Jamie Foxx and Quentin Tarantino as the video for Gold Digger. And then Tarantino turned it into a film. But in that film, he puts a context, he creates a context where Leonardo DiCaprio is allowed to use the word multiple times within that context. So Hollywood's job is to frame things, and they allow what context, what content is accepted and what's not. We have our thoughts. Everyone has thoughts and ideas, and then people try to manipulate your thoughts and ideas. In order for humanity to move forward, we have to be free to think and then to actualize. I like the word actualize better than execute. If you think about execute's a negative word, actualize would be more positive, except for the fact that it has the word act in it, and everyone's an actor, especially in Hollywood. I'm like top 5 writers in human history, so I really get into the power of words, and I feel very akin to Capote, Freud, Nikola Tesla, Da Vinci, Matisse, more Matisse than Picasso, more African cubism than Matisse. So I just do that. I throw out that kind of for the liberals. And that's the funny thing. It's like liberals
let me hold you up on that.
Me.
On Matisse, when you say you're more Matisse than Picasso, as somebody who's a fan of Matisse and Picasso, actually, I spent a lot of time in Saint-Tropez where they all used to paint together. Why do you say Matisse? What is it about Matisse that you feel an affinity with?
I feel like Drake is more Picasso and Ye is more Matisse. When we talked about, when me and Drake went to do the show last year for prison reform and to bring awareness to the incarceration of Larry Hoover, I sent him articles about the relationship of Matisse and Picasso and the need for these people. You need to have that. I need to go into the bar and go to Starbucks. That's a form of a modern day bar, right? And just hear Drake's song playing back to back. And Drake needs to go into that same Starbucks just in a different city and see people wearing Yeezys. And it puts us both back into the studio. And, God sets up these almost similar characters, these doppelgangers. It makes me really realize God has a sense of humor. Like, why is John Galliano and Mark Jacobs the exact same human being, just placed in a different place? Or why does God have it where Bernard Arnault cannot purchase Gucci, not even through the Chinese market? God does this to remind us that we are not God. Because when you take people like Elon Musk and Bernard Arnault and Trump or Jack Ma, Putin, you take these people in their own space, in their own environments, you know, we can start to feel like gods on earth, but we are nothing in comparison to God. And we are here actually to love one another and to collaborate and to make the world a better place. There's, 1% of the world are placed in power, and 99% of the world are the audience.